Sarah opened her eyes after hearing a gunshot. Her whole body felt stiff as she slowly moved on the bed. Only then did she realize she was completely naked. Shock rushed through her when she noticed a man lying beside her, also naked. She shifted her body away from him, but the moment she moved, a sharp pain shot through her abdomen and she cried out. Her scream woke the man. He opened his eyes in confusion, and Sarah immediately begged, "Let me go. Please let me go." He told her, "Stay still." She asked him where her clothes were, but he said he didn't know. She then asked him who he was, but he turned the question back on her, asking who she was. Sarah tried to move again despite the pain, insisting he let her go, but he told her not to move because she was hurting him too. He added that they were stuck together. Confused and scared, Sarah froze. David gently slid his hand between their bodies and felt something. "There's surgical tape," he said. "We're stitched together." Sarah started panicking and struggled again even though it hurt. Her movements caused pain to David as well, so he told her again to stay still or things would become worse. But she insisted they had to separate and tried pulling away. She immediately failed. Their abdomens were stitched tightly together. Sarah burst into tears. She asked how she ended up here, but David told her to try calming down. He helped her lie beside him, both of them breathing heavily as their heads started to hurt. David said he felt like he was dying from thirst, and she said she felt the same. He asked her what the last thing she remembered was. Sarah told him she had left her house to meet her husband. When she asked him what he remembered, David said he had a date. He believed they had been drugged. Sarah asked how that could happen, and he said he didn't know exactly but mentioned a type of chemical submission drug that overrides a person's will and turns them almost into zombies who cannot remember anything later. Sarah asked how he knew that and who used such chemicals. David told her that rapists use them. Hearing that, she panicked and accused him of raping her. He quickly told her he did not do anything to her. She checked their bodies again and repeated that they were stitched together. David explained that it was probably only skin-to-skin stitching and cutting the thread would only leave a scar. Sarah asked why someone would do this to them and wondered if the kidnappers wanted ransom money. David said no one would get much money out of him. Sarah began shivering from the cold. David tried to help her, but she refused. Sarah looked around the room and noticed identical paintings. She said they looked like the paintings were watching them. David said it looked like a hotel room, but Sarah felt something was wrong and said it didn't look like a normal hotel. Suddenly, a storm hit outside, and the room's lights went out. Sarah said someone had brought them here and sedated them. She added that until they found who the criminal was, David would remain her prime suspect. David reminded her that they were both trapped in the same situation. She said they didn't even know whether it was night or day, and the kidnappers had taken everything from them. David told her they left her earrings on, but she said those earrings weren't hers. Soon, Sarah found a telephone. But David said it didn't work. He joked that maybe this was something an aggressive boyfriend would do. But Sarah reminded him she was married. She asked where he lived, and he said near an industrial zone. She said she lived in August Park. He asked if she had siblings. She said no. He told her he was an orphan and worked at the port. Sarah said she worked in a clothing store. When they asked each other their ages, David said he was 38, and Sarah said she was 33. Sarah found a remote, but David grabbed it from her and said there were cameras in the room and they were being filmed. He said they had to separate. Sarah insisted they needed to call someone. They struggled to sit up and managed to sit on the bed. They said their names to each other properly. Then they tried standing together in one synchronized movement. They managed to get up but fell to the ground, then struggled and stood again. They reached the table and drank water. Sarah started banging on the door, screaming for help, but David tried to calm her. They slowly made their way to the washroom. The lights were off there too. They heard the sound of someone opening a door somewhere in the building, then the lights turned back on. David noticed a mark on Sarah's back. He gave her a painkiller and went back into the room. Sarah tried calling again, but the phone still didn't work. David opened a drawer and found an earring inside. They also found a Bible and Sarah read a few verses. Then they discovered a picture of a girl named Rita, but neither of them knew who she was. Sarah said she had lived in France for a year for her studies. David said he had gone to France once with his girlfriend. They then examined the paintings again and found a hidden camera behind one of them. Suddenly the phone rang, but it sounded jammed. Sarah recognized the music playing, Mozart's Requiem. She apologized to David and said it was from Mario, her husband. She explained that Mario had spent his life researching things and said the number 2 was his religion. She explained to David what the number 2 meant to Mario. David asked why Mario would do this, and Sarah said Mario believed she was having an affair. She had received a message from him asking her to meet him. She insisted she had never cheated on him. Sarah and David began arguing. Later, they got up and tried to open the window. They smelled something strange, but soon realized it was dogs outside. They shut the window quickly, but David cut his hand. Back in the washroom, David punched the mirror and broke it. He gave Sarah one of the broken pieces. She tried cutting the stitches, but it didn't work. She said they had been stitched from flesh to flesh. Both of them started crying and later lay on the bed. David noticed a painting and said he remembered something. A man once offered him a lot of money to sleep with his wife. Sarah started hitting him, insisting it was Mario. David said there were thousands of men with white hair and a white beard, and it didn't mean it was Mario. She refused to believe him and kept hitting him until he begged her to trust that he didn't do anything to her. She finally calmed down. The phone rang again. They stood up in pain, but the ringing stopped. It rang a second time and Sarah picked it up. A man's voice said, "Hello, you two. Do you like the room?" David grabbed the phone from her and demanded the man tell them why he was doing this, begging him to let them go. The man told him to calm down. David cursed at him and hung up, then apologized to Sarah. She said the voice wasn't Mario's. David asked her whose voice it was, but she said she didn't know. David asked Sarah if she had any enemies, but she said no. He then showed her Rita's picture, asking if she recognized her. But Sarah said she didn't, and added that the earrings in the drawer were the same ones she was wearing. David asked who Rita was, but Sarah repeated that she didn't know. He told her to try remembering if Rita could be a friend or a relative of Mario. Sarah had trouble standing, so David helped her sit on the bed. She started breathing heavily until David calmed her. Sarah placed a pillow behind them and lay down with him. She said that once she got out of this place, she would ask Mario for a divorce. David asked if she still believed Mario had done this to them, but she said no. It wasn't his voice on the phone. David asked why she stayed with a man like Mario. Sarah explained that when she began dating Mario, her father had just died, and Mario made her feel safe. But later, he shut himself in his office all day. He barely spoke to her and often lost his temper. She said she never defended herself because she was a coward. David told her she wasn't a coward. She was brave and real. He asked if Mario hit her, but she didn't answer, so he cursed Mario. Sarah said Mario had blocked her credit cards and left her completely broke. David told her she seemed like the kind of woman who couldn't stand being alone. She asked where that was coming from, and he said he wasn't judging her. He felt the same way. He hated being alone too. He had spent his whole childhood in foster homes, and the only lucky thing in his life was Goldie. He explained that Goldie was very grateful because he too had been abandoned. Sarah said that as a child she envied kids with siblings. David said he felt the same, and they both laughed. David asked if she felt any better, but she said if they didn't get out soon, they would die. Their wounds could get infected or their bodies could reject each other. David said that wouldn't happen unless their blood types were different. She said she was a universal donor. David said he was too. Suddenly the lights went out. They heard a noise and then the lights came back on. They walked toward a box in the room. David opened it and said it was obvious their captor wanted to play a game with them. Inside the box, they found both his and her favorite foods. David wanted to eat, but Sarah told him it could be poisoned. He said that if he was going to die, he preferred dying on a full stomach, and he began eating. Sarah asked how he knew about the cameras. He said he had already told her, but she insisted. Finally, he told her he sometimes used cameras to blackmail his clients. Sarah started slapping him, but he twisted her hand. She cried, saying that if Mario heard this, he would think she cheated on him all the time. David suddenly kissed her. Sarah said that earlier, when they kissed, the lights also went out. A man entered the room. On the back of his neck was the number 2. He told them to stop, but David attacked him, hitting him until the man collapsed unconscious. David told Sarah this was the man who had paid him, and asked him to meet near the old station. They left the room and saw a painting describing a young mother who gave birth to Siamese twins of different genders, the only known case in the world. Then they found another photo of Rita. Sarah told David she had lied about her age. She said she turned 38 on May 4th. David said he was born in La Casa de la Caridad. Sarah said she was born in Santa Marta Clinic. David said their birth certificates had been faked and showed her a scar. They went toward the window. David began breaking it, but saw a man outside painting something to distract them. They opened a door and stepped out, discovering that the dogs outside were also stitched together. Nearby, they saw a gun. Sarah picked it up and said it was hers. David asked why she had a gun, and she told him that men weren't the only ones who liked guns. She said she had brought it to meet Mario. David told her to put it down, but she held onto it. They walked together and soon found Mario's dead body. David asked if she had done it, but she said no. A man appeared and said he was the one who killed Mario. He said he had met Mario when Mario was looking for Sarah. He told them he had investigated everything and discovered that 2 was the key. He said he knew he had to bring them back together, and that they would live there with him. He showed them that the Bunker brothers never felt lonely, got married, and had 23 children together. He said he did all this for their own good. He told Sarah she was as beautiful as Rita, and walked closer to her. Sarah pointed the gun at him. He told her not to point a gun at her own father, and tried grabbing it. During the struggle, 2 gunshots went off and both men fell to the ground. 1 bullet hit David's leg, the other hit the man's leg. They saw a letter opener nearby. David told Sarah to cut them apart. She used it and separated them, both screaming through the pain. Sarah told David she would come back with help and opened the door. Outside, heavy snow was falling. The man told David that apart they were weak, but together they were perfect. He said the Bunker brothers only lived fulfilling lives while attached, and once they were separated, they died. David died in the room. Sarah died outside in the snow. And to not let your entertainment die, I recommend you click on my recaps on the right. Subscribe and drop a like if you enjoyed this recap. Grab your popcorn, enjoy yourself, and see you soon.